Oh yeah, we got something very exclusive for you guys today. Welcome to the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. I'm your host, Will Santana, and
I'm Mike Russo, and we're talking about a total rewrite here from page 1, word 1.
All right, we got a Flashquack today, Mike. Who do we got here today?
Oh, we have somebody very special. We have another of the great Darkwing Duck writers. Joining us today is the one and only Dev Ross.
All right, welcome, Dev.
Hi, thank you.
How's it going?
It's good. Well, you know, it's as good as it can be when you're entertaining yourself for 4 months in quarantine. You know? Thank God for imagination.
Oh yeah, man, this quarantine has been something. It's definitely been really something.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, Mike, do you want to mention some of the things Dev has wrote outside of Darkwing? Because we know we mainly here to talk to her about Darkwing, but we gotta name drop some of the stuff for her, man.
Oh,
yes.
Please do.
Dev was really important for Disney television animation. She wrote episodes of the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Excuse me. She wrote several episodes of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and she voice directed many of them. She also wrote episodes of Tailspin, Raw Tunage, Bonkers. She was one of the writers of The Return of Jafar. And she wrote several of the Land Before Time sequels.
Yeah, she's won an Emmy. She's been Emmy nominated. She got all kind of awards, man. Congratulations, Dev.
Thanks.
Yeah, and from what I've seen of her work, obviously Darkwing, Winnie the Pooh, and The Land Before Times. I actually, Dev, looking at your resume here, you stopped writing when I stopped watching. Yeah,
Good
The Land
guy.
Before Time.
Good
Yeah,
guy.
I actually started getting worn out of them, but you wrote the last one that I enjoyed watching, so thank you.
They did a lot of those.
Yeah,
There's too many of them.
Are they still making those things?
Well, I did a series. The last Land Before Time I wrote was Land Before Time 8. That's how. And then I think they did 12, and then they did 26 episodes.
Okay.
Honest to God, I don't know where they came up with the ideas.
Well, outside of Disney, I'm just going to really mention some of the networks she wrote for. We got ABC, Fox Kids, Universal, Cartoon Network, TLC, Discovery Channel, Nickelodeon, and Mattel.
Right.
So you're all over the place, and I love Nickelodeon too. We don't talk about Nickelodeon on our show, but I was a huge Doug fan and Ren and Stimpy.
Ren and Stimpy was my jam. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are really smart shows.
And then I got buddies. I got some buddies who are hardcore Fox Kids fans. They're diehard Fox Kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mike, let's go ahead and let's talk about some terror that flaps in the night now with her.
Right, and for the benefit of our listeners, I want to just list the episodes that Dev wrote. The episodes she wrote were Water Way to Go, Fungus Amongus, Apes of Wrath, Up and Awry, Time and Punishment, The Darkwing Squad, The Haunting of Mr. Banana Brain, UFO, Quiverwing Quack, and she co-wrote Trading Faces, All's Fahrenheit and Love and War, Steerminator, and Extinct Possibility, and those last two she co-wrote with Tad Stones himself. Well, so those are her Darkwing episodes.
Well, you mentioned Fungus Amongus and Haunting Mr. Banana Brain. That's all we need to talk about, Those are my two babies, so I'm good to go.
Dev, you really wrote some classics.
Well, I guess so. I didn't know at the time. I was a young mother and pulling my hair out, and I think I used I really do think those shows were my way of not going crazy.
Well, you definitely wrote two of the best Goslin episodes, Time and Punishment and Quiverwing Quack. Those are the ones everybody holds up as like the best Goslin shows.
Well, I loved Goslin, and especially in Quiverwing Quack, I wanted especially I was talking to you guys earlier about some of my PC stuff, creating women characters in the show that I looked at now and I go, oh, I'm not comfortable with them. But with Goslin, you know, she was me as a tomboy. And Tad and I used to talk about that all the time because he had a daughter who was a tomboy. And I had just had a little girl and I was a tomboy. And so we would spend a lot of time talking about, you know, his daughter's frustration and my own frustration of wanting to play with the boys, wanting to go on the adventures, wanting to play baseball with them instead of having to be the bat girl and being the fastest runner. But, you know, teachers telling me not to run too fast because it would upset the boys. And so Goslin embodied that, especially in Quivering. I can never quite say it right.
Quiverwing Quack.
You know, she wanted to be able to prove her abilities, and you know she got to, and he finally was able to accept her abilities.
So that episode came from a very personal place. That's nice.
Absolutely. And that's the wonderful thing, and especially the wonderful thing about writing with Tad, creating with him, and that show is that you had the fantastic, you had these, you know, Negaduck and these crazy characters, but you also had real relationships. He had a real relationship with his daughter. He had a real relationship with Launchpad. They were, you know, they form a nucleus of a family. And so having my own young family at the time, knowing how frustrated I was as a young girl growing up in the 50s, you know, 60s, where we just weren't allowed to do anything. You know, I was a big surfer, and my mom made me stop surfing because she said my shoulders would get too big and it wouldn't be attractive to boys. You know, everything was about that rather than my love of the sport. And I wanted Goslin to reflect the love of doing, you know, being an archer, all those things. And when I watched the episode all these years later, I was like, yeah, that's what it's about. That's
would you say Goslin was your favorite character to write for then?
Uh-oh, you put her on the spot.
Uh-oh.
Not necessarily. Actually, Darkwing was.
Oh, okay.
He was really my favorite character. I think because, you know, every one of us wants to be a hero. Well, most of us wants, you know, we want to be heroic.
Mm-hmm.
We want to stand for something. And we also have our moments of real intimidation and insecurity. And he was as funny and as bravado as he was, he had those moments where he took consequences. You know, he'd get blown up, he'd get embarrassed, he'd get outwitted, and he really took the consequences of all of those things and then pulled himself up and did it again, and was funny and could laugh at himself. And, you know, to me, he was just the perfect character to write for. I loved, and to this day, I am an alliteration freak. You know how Darkwing always alliterates everything?
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to think of something that I can pull out of my hat right now about what he would say.
Got one.
You know, you dithering ding dong of a ding.
Yeah.
You know. And I just in the play that I just had that was turned into a film, you know, I have a character that says he was the villain, and he says, "Indeedy do I did with a pilfering pursuit of polka." You know, and I realized in watching the Darkwing episodes, I went, "Oh my God, I still do that." All my bad guys still do alliteration, and some of my actors now are ready to kill me because they're like, "My God, these are tongue twisters." And no, just slow down, enunciate.
Never quite leave Darkwing behind, then, have you?
Yeah, no. And I realized that in watching the episodes again, I went, "Oh my God, that has stayed with me." Or narrating, you know how he narrates himself?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I will be in the kitchen and I will be narrating myself what I'm doing. You know, Dev lifts the spoon. Should she stir gently or hard? You know, just all those things. And one of my daughters does it too, because I did it so much with her growing up. I'll hear her in the kitchen narrating herself, and I thought, "Oh my God,
we love it when Darkwing does that."
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find him, he's a character, of course he's a cartoon character, but I find him exemplifying some of the most precious things about being human, being able to laugh at yourself, being heroic, you know, taking consequences. It's really hard to take consequences and get yourself back up on your feet to do it again. He does it anyway. That's a big motto of mine, scared, do it anyway. And Darkwing would just do it anyway. And so I loved him. I still do.
Mhm. So Deb, what
That's
was it
why I
like?
made him a girlfriend.
So Deb, what was it like working with Tad and being part of the production team so early and being a female at that?
Well, yeah, as I said, I was the first female there. Now I don't know if there were females before me, but when I got the call from my agent, they said that Disney was directed that they better hire some women. And at the time, there was a big movement with writers because no women were on staffs. So I literally waddled in 9 months pregnant, poor as a church mouse, could barely keep my pants up over my big tummy. And I pitched to Tad. He was the one I met. And it just so happens his wife was pregnant at the same time, which was really great. So he was very wonderful to me. And I had never really, I was a writer, I was an award-winning playwright, but I had never really done this kind of stuff. But I pitched to him and he said, have your baby and come back. You have a job. And it was pretty shocking. He was just so warm and so easy to talk to. And we just continued that relationship. Once I got there, I didn't realize how special it was. I really didn't. Because I came from the world of theater. In theater, you're always working as a team, and especially as a playwright, you're always changing and rewriting and listening to the actors speak and rewriting. And Tad seemed to understand that, whereas a lot of other story editors didn't. Tad really understood that things needed a time to maturate, and you threw the ball back and forth to each other. What about this? What about this? And Tad did that. And one thing that Tad did that no one else I worked for did, and I worked for a lot of great people, but we would have Monday morning meetings, and we would just co-create. And he initiated that. You just feel free to throw out ideas, and if no one liked it, oh well, no one was judged. It was just a free-for-all. And he created this atmosphere, and I didn't know to appreciate it until I left Disney and started working with other people, and really felt very isolated, and that I had no one to bounce ideas across. I'm working with Carl Gears now I'm working with Carl Gears as another original Disney guy. Really fantastic. And we're working on the new reiteration of the Care Bears. And I went, oh my God, this is what it's like to work with a Disney person again, because even though we're not sitting at a physical table, we'll get the writers on a Zoom call or a conference call, and we go over ideas and we create, and we're a team. And I miss that. And it's the great thing about working with Carl Gears, who again was just another legend at Disney. But Tad was the one that really brought that to the table. And I know, there were other people that maybe didn't work with him as well, which I found out later, but for some reason I just did. I got his humor, I got his storytelling, and he was my mentor.
Okay.
I came in as a playwright, and he really taught me the Disney way. So I'm very grateful.
Well, you were on Darkwing Duck from day one.
Yeah.
And not only that, you wrote like one of the absolute first episodes, What a Way to Go,
Right.
which is the first one in production order. Do you have any stories about what it was like? Because Darkwing had a really interesting production history, changing from Double O Duck to Darkwing. What was that like?
Well, you go back and you keep changing well, you'll get notes and they say, well, only changes this. And, yeah, you change this and then you change every other line, every down, down the page for the next 39 pages. There's just a lot of rewrites. And, and in another show that might have been horrible, but on this show it was great because I did see, I'm sorry,
continue.
No, I did see him go from Double O Duck to Darkwing, and why and how. And, you see the bones of the character. And in this first episode, you start putting the flesh on the character and how their heart beats and, the cadence of their speech. And it's exciting. It's like, it's giving birth to this. And, I watched that first one. I went, okay, it's a little tight here and there. It's a little, we could do better. But it really, I thought, really set the tone for him, for his relationship with Launchpad, for instance. Well, look at that emotional story in that first one. Launchpad says, why do you always get to be the hero?
Yeah.
And so, though it's tough for him, Darkwing lets him be the hero and lets him have his own experience. And, that really, I don't want to get all emotional about it, but what I'm saying is it creates a relationship and a trust. I mean, it's still funny, he made him get his bags and stuff, but his lunch bag, not that, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but it shows the humor, but it also shows the respect, and that he was going to give him the respect of allowing him to be seen as the hero. Now, the interesting thing about that is when I watched it again, I cringed because I looked at the princess, and she was the typical attractive, sweet, helpless princess. Oh, Dev. Oh,
but you know
Dev,
what?
Really?
Great segue, Dev, because that character was not really, she wasn't all that much, but she was voiced by Kat Sosi.
Yeah.
And who did she play? It's your turn now, Will.
Yeah, I was going to say, pick me. I'm sitting here like a 5-year-old. Pick me.
Yeah.
All right, Dev. I got to ask you about, this is one of my top 3 favorite characters of the show, and you're the mother of her. You're her creator. Can you tell us what went behind the creation of Morgana Macabre? And also, did you create Eek, Squeak, and Archie?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I really felt like there needed to be an equal female to Darkwing. And I had been pestering Tad about it for months. There has to be a strong female in there, and she needs to turn Darkwing to jelly. And again, when I look at her again, I go, oh my God, so not PC, so using her feminine wiles and all that stuff. But I was victim of the time as well, and I got to give myself a pass, but not too easily. I would never write that character the way she would be more like Goslin. But I really did work on Tad about creating a character that could best Darkwing, or at least be his equal. And Tad kept saying, well, then, how do we introduce her? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I don't know. It just sort of, maybe I had a bad pizza. I don't know. I don't know. Pizza was the thing. Everybody's always eating pizza. To this day, everybody loves pizza. And I thought about, I want Darkwing Duck. This is so crazy. I mean, you guys are going to think I'm nuts, that I'm on drugs, but this is what I was thinking. I want Darkwing to have someone to love, and everyone loves pizza. Okay. How do you put that together? And then you start building these crazy what ifs, Well, everybody loves horror. I mean, what is the continuing thing? Is everybody loves horror. Everybody loves to be scared. Elvira was really big. You remember Elvira? You guys were little.
No, I remember Elvira.
Yeah, Elvira.
Can't forget Elvira.
Funny and cute and sexy. And I remember Elvira, and everybody loved her. So, you just put I knew everybody loved pizza. And I wanted Darkwing to have a girlfriend, and I knew everybody loved Elvira. So you just start stirring it up, and then I don't know. I
It
watched
works.
it again. I'm like, God, you really?
Yeah, that
It-
episode works
thinking?
great.
That episode works. The chemistry with Darkwing and Morgana is just, man, it's crazy. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves it.
spooky. The pizza stuff is great.
Hmm
It's
It's
one of the
but
best.
come on, you guys have to tell me that those mushrooms were crazy.
Well, that's what's good. That's what works with Darkwing Duck, though. Crazy is good on Darkwing Duck.
Mhm.
And literally how I came to those mushrooms. I mean, you just use a writer just you use what you know. I was living in this place in Santa Monica, and mushrooms started popping up out of the carpet,
Ooh.
and the green carpet, and then the mushrooms, and I just could swear at night that they were coming to get me, and that's how.
You never know what's going to inspire you.
And I went, okay, I'm going to take the time that the mushrooms were growing up, and I thought they were kind of like, they were, almost sentient, and the way they kept growing up out of the carpet of this house in Santa Monica near the beach, because of the mold and all that stuff. Yeah, and just make, and then I'd start throwing the ideas around with Tad and laughing, and then before you know it, it all works.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any other of your episodes that you remember really, really well?
Uh,
Well, there's one I don't want you to talk about. There's one I don't want you to talk about. Please.
Okay, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm not going to. I kind of remember the Terminator a lot, just because it was so fun to write Taurus Bulbous.
Yeah, you got to write that one with Tad, and man.
Yeah. And again, Tad and I would just have so much fun with that, because we would act him out and, try the dialogue out, and Taurus Bulba,
Well, with
and
Tim
just,
Curry in your pocket, how can you go wrong?
Yeah. It was really fun. I think I really do remember Fungus Amongus the most, just because it was so crazy, and I was so determined to give him a girlfriend, but it had to be unrequited. It was West Side Story, girl from the wrong side of the tracks kind of thing.
But she stuck around, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, she was adopted. Other writers used her. That's always kind of hard too, because she came from my head, and then all of a sudden other writers are writing her, and I wanted to tell him no.
Well, she definitely turned out a little bit differently in later episodes.
Yeah.
Definitely a little bit different from how she was in Fungus Amongus.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely saw a trajectory for them. I saw episodes where they were, he was leaving for a date with her. I mean, I had all kinds of, she was coming over for dinner, but I didn't get to write those.
Well, they did one later in the run where he took her next door to meet the Muddlefoots finally.
Yeah. So I'm really struggling now. You'd have to throw such stuff out for me to remember.
Well, there's one episode I really want to talk to you about, but I have to save it for a later date. It's my favorite episode. So that's The Haunting of Mr. Banana Brain. Sorry, all you Patty Wax and Quacker Jack fans. We have to wait for that portion of the interview. But Mike, you got anything else?
Really, Dev, when you look back on all your years writing for Disney, what do you look back on with the most fondness?
Oh, so easy. The people. I got to tell you guys, I have never worked with such a crazy bunch of amazing people, many of which I still have relationships with today. I was on the phone yesterday laughing with David Schwartz, who is a big storyboarder at Disney, and just the relationships that I've kept. But the people there were special. The artists were so freaking talented, and not only would they do their boards, their storyboards, but they would go out at lunch and do oil paintings or watercolor paintings, and I would get to see their work, just extraordinary. And then the writers, and yes, we're writing animation and cartoons, but some of these writers were writing novels and short stories and feature films. And I remember talking to Mark Zaslav once, and he got me into a conversation about quantum physics and science fiction. And I just, as a young writer, I just felt so lucky to be among all that talent. Am I answering the question? I'm waxing on.
No, it's nice.
I just wish everybody would have that kind of playground. Anyone who has the fire in the pit of their belly to create, because it's really hard to do it by yourself.
Well,
you can do it. You can do it, but when you have playmates that are willing to play with you and develop with you, I am so lucky I had that experience, and I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful to Tad, because I waddled in pregnant, poor as a church mouse. And he and Carl Gear said they saw something. So thank God.
Well, what you created, what Tad created, and everybody else on that staff created is going to live on. I mean, Darkwing's going to be 30 next year, and the show is still popular. Disney Plus has brought it back. Younger kids know him now through the new DuckTales series. He's out there. He's popular. People remember him. I mean, the whole Disney Afternoon era is remembered, but there's just something about Darkwing Duck that people they're in love with. It's always going to endure.
Yeah, adventure. The adventure, the
superhero, and the family.
And the family, yeah. It
means a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, and especially now, because I think sometimes we can feel so powerless with what's going on. And, we have all these superheroes, but Darkwing was a superhero that was approachable and reachable, and
he didn't have powers.
Funny. Yeah, he just was himself and utilized his own core resilience, his own backbone, and I think that's just resonates with people.
Well, thank you so much, Deb, for being on with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. I'm thrilled.
Before we let you go, Deb, do you want to plug like any upcoming work you got coming out, or where the fans can find you on social media or anything?
Sure. I have right now, the working title is called the Two TWO Lucy's, LUCYS, The Two Lucy's, and it's a film. Hopefully, it'll be out on Netflix next year. It's the craziest thing. It was I wrote a 2-woman play with my partner Chandra Jefferson, who wrote the music, and a guy, around, in your the one that said he was the latchkey kid who grew up on Darkwing, saw the play and approached me and developed it as a feature film. And so it's The Two Lucys. It'll probably get retitled, but you'll know what it's about because it's just my dog's growling. Shh. It's just two over the hill female actors, creators, writers, singers, songwriters who no one will hire, so we make our own work. And I'm really proud of it.
And do you have anywhere where the fans can find you on social media, or you don't want to be found on social media?
You can find it at www.thetwolucys.com. And that's you'll see me talking about the show, and you can reach out to me if you want.
And we are the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. You can find us on all major podcast apps. We are on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, everywhere. iHeartRadio and Pandora. You can also speak into your Amazon Echo. It'll play the latest episode for you there. We're also on YouTube. Join us on YouTube for that fantastic virtual panel and all sorts of great Darkwing videos. And join our communities on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, the St. Canard Files of Darkwing Duck podcast. So we are very accessible.
Yeah. All right, guys, and that's Dev Ross. Thank y'all for tuning in, and stay dangerous.
Good night.
Night.